Hi everyone, today we are going to do the framing for the Vintage Seed Packets collection that is running with Crazy Annie's Stitching. This is a 12-part series. Started in January with their tomato, and then February was tiger lily, and so on and so on. We are all the way up to poppy, and July will be carrots. So we're making our way through the seed packets. It's been really fun to see everybody sharing their stitching as they're going along. And yeah, I'm very excited to do this little filming of the framing for you. So my overall 12 designs here are stitched on one chunk of fabric. This is a 32 count vintage smoky white linen, and it was stitched by my model stitcher Kimberly. So thank you, Kimberly. It is absolutely stunning. I adore this piece as one full finish. As you guys have seen while I go through this series, they're being released, I have been sharing them individual stitched up as well into the pillow forms. So it's been really fun, lots of versatility as to how you can finish these, and I hope you guys are enjoying this series. If you want any more information about it, this series is an exclusive with Crazy Annie's Stitching, so you can head on over to her Facebook groups to get more information, reach out to her. I will link the information in the description box as well if you do want more information on the club. She does have the charts, previous charts available for purchase as well. So any information, you can touch base with Crazy Annie's Stitching, including information on the frame we're going to use today. So she offered the frame as an option to order too. It did not come with a mat board, so I've gone ahead and cut a mat board to fit today. I left 1/8 of an inch off this inside of the frame measurements. So I made sure to measure this a couple of times, the inside on the back of the frame, and then I just shaved off 1/8 of an inch both on the width and the height of the frame. And this is the size I came up with for my board. I definitely recommend you measuring your own so that you can make sure, just in case there's a little bit of a difference. You never know. So this is the frame that was available to order through Crazy Annie's Stitching, and she ever so kindly sent me one so that I could frame the piece and kind of show you guys how to do this and what the overall look will be. So we've got our mat board all cut here. We've got our frame. It fits in there. With this size, you guys, it is very close to a square, but not quite. So keep that in mind when you are putting your stitch onto the board. Double check, triple check before you do any finalizing, because if you see, it's just about a 1/2 inch or so difference. So definitely keep that in mind. I know when I first lined mine up, I had it going the wrong way. So little tidbit there. I'm going to put the frame off to the side for now because we're going to worry about getting the stitch onto our mat board. So what do I have for supplies today? I have my mat board pre-cut down. I just use a rotary cutter for that. I have a paper one and a fabric one. So I use one for just like my mat boards and foam core and stuff. And I find that really easy with the rulers and the cutting mats to just measure it out and do a nice straight line. Get that done. So we've got the stitch, we've got some mat board, got little snips. I did grab some of the little tiny pins, so they're nice and short pins, just in case. I am going to try to stitch this all up onto the mat board with lacing. So I've got my yarn for that, my thread, and I'm going to lace it on to the mat board. But I grabbed pins in case there's little spots that I want to tweak, and we're going to see how it goes. So you can do either or. You could just go around and pin it on, and you just, I'll show you when we get going, but because the foam core is nice and thick here, you can put your pins into this ledge. So I am also going to, for mine, I'm going to put a layer of batting on the board first underneath, so it just gives it a little bit more to the piece. It's not just right on the mat board. And then I got my fancy frame tacker. So I just picked this up on Amazon. I have never used it. But this is to put the points into the back of the frame to keep the mat board in place. So we are going to load this up and give it a shot for the first time together. And I'm really excited to finally add one of these to my tool collection. All right, so first things first. Oh, and then I do have my quilting adhesive spray. So I'm going to use this for the batting to get it on place on the mat board. Again, remember how I had said about the size of this, which way it goes. If you look at it, looks like I might have it on the right way. So you should have equal spacing on either side, all sides. So this is the right way. If we were to turn it, you will see that your borders are just ever so slightly. If it were to go this way, it's going to be a little bit wider here and a little more narrow on the sides here. And that is, it's not enough of a difference to really catch it if you're not paying close attention. So just keep that in mind. It is not a perfect square, but very, very close to. So you'll want to, it might be best to even put like a little marker on the top of your fabric and the top of your mat board or something like that, so that you have that for easy, quick reference. So we are going to spray our batting and get this onto the board. So I just like to do a little adhesive spray so that it can keep that in place, and just helps when you're trying to lace the piece onto the front. It'll help keep this from shifting. So get it on there nice and smooth. You can iron out your batting. I always find it smooths out pretty good just from pressing it on. Make sure you don't have any extra little threads or bits on there. Sometimes if you get a dark fiber on there, you will see it, especially today we're working with white. So you really want to make sure you get it on there nice and smooth. And then we are just going to trim off the excess here. Now we have our nice ready to go. You could do a couple layers of batting too. It's just personal preference. So you can always try one, see what it looks like. If you don't like it, you could add another one and just give it a little bit more puffy cushion like feel to it there. So, all right. Now, I want to make sure we got it on our board the right way. And it looks like I do. So we want to try and eyeball it and get it as relatively as straight as we can, centered. So that looks pretty good. I'm just going to look in my camera because sometimes you notice it better. Yeah, I would say that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over, and I have about a 2-inch seam, like 2-inch framing on this piece. I would leave it. It's all depends on what you guys prefer. Again, I can do it with 2 inches. I don't find it to be very difficult, but it is obviously going to be more forgiving and easy if you have a little bit more fabric. Now, the thing with this is you're going to want to make sure with linen, and pretty much any fabric really, I guess, should be, finish your seams. Aida, you don't have to worry as much. I don't always, depending on the projects and stuff, worry about doing the finishing of the edges because it is a stronger, sturdier fabric. But the even weave and linen, you're pulling on those fabric fibers a lot more, and having that serge in the seam here, or on the edge, sorry, is going to help give that some strength. So as you start stitching through the edge of the fabric and start pulling, the more you pull, the more tension there's going to be on those fibers. And if you get too close to these edges, you can pull right through and pull the weave apart. So that is kind of why you want to give yourself a little bit more fabric to work with, so that you're not pulling right up against this edge. And then also it also just, if you do happen to, this is going to help kind of protect the integrity of your fabric. So what I'm going to start with is, I can't remember which way I flipped this. So top is to me and bottom's down there. So I think I'm going to start top to bottom. We'll start going back and forth with the lacing to get it onto the board. And then that way I can space out, make sure it's good top to bottom, and then we'll go side to side and get it straight, centered onto the board. So I just have my thread for this. You can work in whatever length you feel comfortable with. Some people prefer shorter lengths and some people prefer longer. I always like to do as long as I can because I just want to avoid having to rethread. But keep in mind, the longer your thread, the more tangly it gets, more difficult it can become. So sometimes it is better to do, where did I put my, sometimes it's better to do more short threads because of the tangling and stuff. So if you're just starting out with a lacing project, I would suggest doing short threads to start. Yeah, I'm going to start on the end and just go for it because I do feel like it's on there pretty good centered wise. So I'm going to give myself a little bit of a, not go right up against the edge there. Make sure it's all in camera. And then we're just going to go, so see if I'm giving a little bit of space there from the edge. And again, if I had more fabric, I could be giving myself even more. So because this is such a large piece, even though my thread to me felt like really long, I'm gonna go through this thread pretty quick. So for some of these larger projects, it might be easier, less stressful just to pin. I find getting it laced on is going to give you, it's a good way to start that project. And then you can adjust with pins easier. Sometimes it's just a matter of holding it in place essentially, so you're not trying to fiddle around with it constantly. If you were to pin, I've seen and heard people who, there's different ways you can do it. You can kind of figure out where, when you're pulling it over, what line of, like, row of fibers you're going to be hitting into the first one, and then from there you can kind of stay in that same row along the whole edge. Sometimes people put in a running stitch of thread so that they know exactly where's the square of it, and then that way it's really easy to square onto your board. Like I say, this is a very square design. You've got edges all around, nice straight edges. So while I love a good straight edge border and all that framing, it does make it a little trickier when you're getting it put together, because you are dealing with keeping the lines straight and not pulling it and getting that weave or wobble in the line. So when I run out of thread, I don't just tie it off here, because I'm going to want to play with this and like pull and move it around. I'm not doing the lacing very tight right now. I'm just doing looser lace so that I can go back and pull it tighter where need be. So I'm just going to tie on my next length of thread, and then we're just going to continue, and that way it's just essentially one big long piece that I can still have play and movement with. And see, I've already gone and tangled myself up here. Yay. I've never done, I think because this is such a large piece, I'm using even longer pieces than I normally would. But I definitely got a little sloppy with that one when I put the thread down to tie that on. And then just picked it up and pulled. Okay. So, there we go. So yeah, this is a really long piece actually. A lot longer than I normally would do. So just keep going back and forth. See how quick you run out of thread. It's like feels so long for the first couple, and then all of a sudden it's just gone. So see, some of these I feel I might have gone a little too close down to this edge of the fabric. If I really start pulling on these, it'll be fine. I know it'll be fine with this, but it's definitely would have been better to give myself just to go up a little bit further, to give myself a little bit more fabric to tug on. So I think because I'm so far away at this end, when I'm scooping my needle through there, I'm not maybe noticing exactly where my positioning is, because it's so far away from my actual site. So again, we're just gonna tie. When you tie on a thread, you just want to make sure that you have a long enough piece from the previous one that wherever your knot lies, it's going to be far enough away from this point and this point, so that when you do finally pull, because sometimes when you pull this, like there's a lot of looseness in this still. So I can definitely go through and tighten that right up, and you don't want to get to a point where all of a sudden your knot's down here and you're trying to pull it through a fabric or something. That would be really unfortunate. So the tying it together works really well as long as you have enough clearance between the edge. So see, this is a good case in point. If I went through there, I'm gonna not have enough to tie on another piece there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go and tie it about midway through. So I'm just gonna take off a little bit of that tail so that I can tie that nicely. Sure, go through that thread real quick. All right, and there we have a kind of, I could go a couple more, but I'm not going to tie on quite yet to do that, because I want to start a fresh one going this way anyways. I like to do side to sides and then tackle the corner situations. I'm going to leave this completely loose because I'm going to play with it. I'm going to just right now flip it around, and before I do anything more, I'm still going to play and see how everything's looking. So it is looking pretty good. So what I'll sometimes notice is where you do start to kind of have like it pulling a little tight, like where those go through, where you've scooped through on the back, and then in between you can get like the loose fabric. So when we do the side to side, we're gonna just want to make sure that we get this pulled out nice and snug as well. We want to make sure we are keeping it all, turn it this way, have a look at it from every side. All right. Looks good. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that. This, I'm noticing even as I'm looking at it now, what I'm looking at is this border here, but these are going to be kind of tricky too. I'm hoping by the time I pull this out, it'll just kind of naturally, but right now I can see quite the like wibble wobble through that because it is such a strong, so you can kind of see it's not really lining up. Yeah, so we'll have to pay attention to those lines as well. So these ones especially, but also the two that go through there. All right, so now we're gonna start going the other sides, and same idea. Back and forth across the whole thing, and then comes the fun part of trying to make the front all look straight. All right, so now we have it nicely gridded out there, and we're gonna go back to the front and kind of just move it across. Where like anything, it's always a good idea to like step back, look from it from a different distance as well, so you can really see. Now it's looking pretty good, so I don't know how much I'm gonna want to pull it a little tighter, but I'm thinking overall I don't want to pucker it because it's looking pretty good. So I'm just picking up every other one of these and just kind of pulling it to kind of anchor it. I'm obviously pulling that one the wrong way there. That's supposed to go that way. And then we pull this one. Okay. So I'm just gonna take a look. It's definitely stretching it out a little bit more. So we're just gonna keep doing it this other way now. So I'm doing that under layer first, the top to bottom. You could pull these nice and tight before you put your other ones on as well. This is just how I do it. Works for me. I know it can get kind of like weird working underneath these other threads on top. Okay. So now for side to side. So we're going to start in the middle with that as well. All right, I think that overall looks really good. So what I'm going to do is my corners. What I like to do for these is I pull them nice and tight, and then I pinch it in. Sometimes what I'll do is actually put a stitch through where it pinches together there, just to kind of hold the fabric together, I guess. And then I'll fold it over, and then I fold this one back, and then I try to just scoop in and then pop back up and out. Anyways, then I do one more this way, same kind of thing. Poke it through, grab the fabric underneath, and then push it back up and pull. And one more on this side. And then I generally find that that's good. All right, so there we have it. Now, if you had some wibbles or wobbles and you sort of saw the border was being maybe like pulled in certain spots, you could always give it a little pull and then stick a pin in the lip of it here, the edge, to kind of keep those places. Or just go back to the back and find the threads to pull to kind of get that in place. I think this is, I could probably sit here all night and fiddle with every little bit of it. But I think overall that is pretty good. Now, which way is the frame go? Just like that. Perfect. Oh my goodness, look at that. Is that not incredible? Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm gonna hold it up like this for myself to look at. I think it's pretty good. I think it's probably as good as I'm going to be able to get it, which is pretty darn good. At least in front of me I'm very happy with that. So now we're gonna try this fancy tool. I'm gonna get rid of my cutting mat because it's a bit raised. It's kind of pushing that out. Okay, so here we go. Different lengths, plus minus for tension. Trigger set. Wow, look at all those little components. Okay. I'm assuming it's going to be similar to a staple gun. So let's see. What do we got? Yep. Oh, they're like bendy. They're all the same size. Okay, so they just load in. So this is the release. They just load in inside there. And then we just push this down. This will strengthen the amount of push force it has to drive it in. And I do feel like it, just from the components of this, it is a little greasy because it's new, and all the mechanicals mechanical bits are a little greasy, so I'm gonna make sure I don't touch the front of my thing anymore. Give this a little wipe down, make sure. I always have baby wipes handy because they, when you get going on projects. Okay, so I don't have to worry about like my spacing in and around here very much because it is just right. There's not, like, there's a little bit of shift, but not a lot. So let's try this out. It's gonna need a little more force, I think. So I think if we tighten that, should I go side to side? Always away from me. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Probably don't need a ton in it to keep it in place. Oh wow, that's awesome. Should have got one of these forever ago. And then with these you can just bend them if you ever have to take it out or adjust it. Do a couple more. So after a couple, I can still kind of like shift it if it looks like it needs a little more space. Like I said, that space edging that I have in there is so minimal. That I don't think it's going to make much difference. Okay, let's just do a couple more. I don't have any on this side yet. That's probably why that was so easy to shift around still. Good. Good. Hopefully that didn't pull on my fabric too much. Okay, couple more. Whoops, didn't hold that up against there enough, but it'll, oh, see, it didn't get in there quite enough. Perfect. Let's do a new one. It's not liking that section of the frame, I don't think. Let's move over. Not liking me. What did I do? A little more force. This is really, oh. There we go. Okay. There we go. And just like that, we have a very nicely framed piece. Now, as far as the back, you could absolutely put a couple different hangers on here. You could, if you were to leave the back open like this, you could put in 2 eyelet screws and then wire the back to have a wire hanger, or you can get one of those like little claw teeth hangers to put in the top here. You could do 2 on the side if you wanted to. Those are always just harder to hang, and you'd want to make sure that you have them equal down on either side. I personally will probably just do the little claw one on the back here, but for now, we're gonna call this good. I just wanted to show you guys the lacing portion and kind of give you any tips with this. And the biggest one is to just keep an eye on the size of the stitch, because it's very minimally off. It's like that 1/2 inch or so. I don't want you guys to get partway through the lacing or pinning and then realize it's not equal. So double, triple check always when you're measuring, like putting things together, framing, cutting, and so we don't have to go backwards and do more work than need be. So that is the Vintage Seed Pack series. I hope you guys found this little walkthrough of how to do the framing very helpful. Maybe picked up a little something throughout the process. If nothing else, you just enjoyed spending some time with me today. And if you don't have one of these, if you do want to get into framing your own stuff and you don't have a point driver, mine was actually on the package called Frame Tacker. I do have an Amazon shop. I will put that in there, and I will link everything. Again, if you're interested in any of these charts, please reach out to Crazy Annie Stitching and she will get you all the information. And also, if you did not order the frame and you're now seeing this and want the frame, you can reach out to her and see if it is still an option to get it. I absolutely love it. The other option too is if you did get a different frame, you could always, sometimes you can order your frames from like Michael's or Hobby Lobby to the size you want. They'll cut them and make them, and then you can do your own framing at home if you're looking to save some money for framing. I cannot wait to get this on my wall. I'll have to get it up and get a photo for you guys to see it on my wall as well. So I again hope you enjoyed this and learned something from it. Until next time, happy stitching, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.